See if anybody shows up. Maybe, sort of, kind of. We'll see. Football's on, whatever. Even the Bears are playing right now, but I'll catch it here in a little bit. The game is actually kind of meaningless because the Bears are already in playoffs, so. But it is the last regular schedule game. Let's see what happens. Alright, seems to be going out. Hello, whoever you are. And salute. What's up, DJ? Hold on just a second. Look at the duckies. Huh? Look at the ducks while I'm getting my drink on. What's up, feline? You know, well, I can't compete with tickle big bitty goth girls. Sorry. Dark Wig Dong and Daffy Boggs. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have any snow. Well, I'm not. I'm not. Snow's a 4-letter word and it's overrated. Don't mess it up at all. Ooh, da ooh. That's right. I just want to know where the. Well, I mean, goth was just becoming in vogue, and when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, that was back in '93. So, they were around. They were around. I guess you just weren't in the, you weren't emotionally damaged enough neighborhood. I thought I picked the corner of the park, but people walking by. Yeah, whatever. I'm not exactly kid-friendly when I get to talking about shit. Now I need some little kid with a papa out here listening to what I gotta say, because it's not for little ears. Do I do drugs? I do pharmaceuticals. So I guess legal drugs. Do I take illegal drugs? No, because I'm not a degenerate. Get a proper haircut. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Dude, I went to that Walmart blood pressure machine just to check, because I hadn't checked my blood pressure in a while, and it, the fuck was it, 126/68, so I was pretty happy about that. And then I had a little, I guess I had a built-in scale and a BMI detector. And so I said, what the hell? And I don't know how accurate the scales are there, guys. I don't know. I know there was the great Willie Tiny debate about this shit. You got a certified regulated scale. I don't know. The thing said I was down to 213. And the last time I weighed myself, I was at 225. So there you go. So I'm feeling pretty good and fit. Anyway, am I back? I should be back. Yeah, 213, guys. Say, holy shit. I never thought I never thought that would be a reality. That was my ringer. And no, it's actually not a Christmas theme. It's a beach theme. It just has bells in it. bootmaker at Illinois. Oh man. No, but in light of all the things going on and Maduro being extradited and captured and people preaching about illegalities, this, illegality that, I say, look, all right. And my favorite today, here's looking at you, kid. He's a commie. He's been around in my chats for a while, but he's like, white Christians, which I'm not a Christian, white Christians are stuck in the 50s where communism's bad, and you need to let go of old prejudices about communism. I'm like, it got me thinking. It really got me thinking. It's like, you know what, kid, you might be right. Me need to reassess some of the, I don't know, past bigotry of political persuasions. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. And for some of the midwits out there, they think socialism equals services. But for brevity, for this conversation, I will acquiesce the point, okay, things coming from the public largesse could, in this argument, be for socialism. So like the fucking midwits think like roads and the fire department, the police department, trash pickup, water. I mean, anything being paid by the government is socialism. Just for this thought experiment, all right? Just making that clear. So I'll give them that. So that's their idea of socialism. But I'm like, okay. But I'm not hip to the idea of this global workers' revolution. I don't want to get bogged down in class warfare and shit like that. But we've got a pretty good set of laws in the United States. We have workers' rights, and they're upheld for the most part. So it's not like the early 19th century with laissez-faire and people are being paid with company script and all that. So I'm just gonna say, okay, I can agree to your socialism, but I don't want the global workers thing. And I'm gonna go ahead and ban this guy. So, and as you know, I'm a civic nationalist. So how about we have a more socialist system with a nationalist bent? I'm like, okay, what system of government was socialist with a nationalist bent? Now, we've had this. It was the 20th century, right? I'm like, what's fascism? I'm like, damn. And I'm like, well, that's an old 20th century form of government that didn't really get its chance, right? I mean, after all, communism got about 100 years, right? Communism got it 100 years, and they said that real communism has never been tried. But I'm thinking, damn, fascism was around maybe, 25 years? Holy shit, real fascism has never been tried. So you're right. I think we need to get rid of the bigotry of what we read about in history about certain political forms of government. And I bet we could bring it back and do it better. We could do it better. We can bring fascism back and just do it correctly this time. Because this time, we're the smarty smart pants. And, we can make it work. That's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Who's with me? Right? Everything for the state, everything from the state, everything to the state, right? That's socialism. You want Gibbs-me dance, and you want a social welfare safety net, and you want all this shit paid for by the government? Hey, I'm down. But I want to keep it here. I want to keep America first. Right? That's all I'm asking. So let's do that. Who's with me? So I keep my nationalism, you keep your socialism, we meet in the middle. We don't have to be filthy commies to make this happen. Right? What do you think? Oh, well. That's news. That's news right there. But anyway, now if you don't want that form of government, well, you're just a 20th century bigot. And, there's been a lot of reformation in the ideology since Mussolini and Hitler. And that, I guess just like communism, it just got a bad rap. It's only been institutionalized a couple of times. I don't know. I think we can give it a go. What do you think? No good. You make fun, disability, handicapped, deaf. Very bad. Well, I'm just saying, if they can say the same, they're saying the same. That's what they're saying about communism. Real communism's never been implemented. It got a bad rap. It ain't as bad as you think it is. We need that stuff here in the United States. I'm like, no, because I'm not a globalist, right? No amount of my political ideology is ever going to change the fact that I'm a nationalist. So I'm never going to accept globalism. All right? But if we can meet in the middle, well, we could be National Socialists. Right? You get what you want, I get what I want, we meet in the middle. That's compromise. What do you think? Yeah, 21. Just saying, right? If all these political ideologies got a bad rap, I'm just saying we can make this happen. All right? Probably get the economy back on track. I don't know. We could change the dollar's value to be tied to a whatever and a certain amount of American labor is worth. We could make that happen. It's something not really tangible, but it's sort of backed by something. But it doesn't matter. It's what people have faith in a currency. It doesn't really matter what's backing it. Now, I know a lot of you are like, Boggs, you're being ridiculous. I am. I am being absolutely ridiculous. The idea of actually giving it another go, like Nazi 2.0 or Mussolini 2.0, it's kind of horrifying, isn't it? It's horrifying. That's how I feel about communism. See, communism, there actually have been more successful fascist regimes than are actually communist. Franco, I hear this a lot, that fascism was defeated in Europe. It's the furthest thing from the truth. Pardon me if, you're the resident European, but is Spain not part of Europe? Pretty sure Spain is part of Europe. And I'm pretty sure General Franco, that conquered Spain, was a fascist. And as a matter of fact, he died of old age in office. I think he lasted until the 70s, as a matter of fact. Pinochet actually did pretty good in Chile. Believe it or not. I know he's most famous for yeeting commies out of helicopters, but he actually saved Chile. And they had a kick-ass economy and a way of life for a long time. So, I don't know. Fighting Trump is a losing... It is definitely a losing battle. Yeah. But I'm being tongue-in-cheek. If you're watching, and not Terry, I'm talking about, here's looking at you, kid. Your argument's ridiculous. Because if you can make a case for communism, make it a comeback, even though every time it's been implemented, it's been an absolute disaster. And this is why I call it an evil ideology. Socialism was a true villain of the 20th century. The fascists were socialists, whether you want to admit it or not. Whether you want to admit they just were a Marxist form of socialism, but they were socialists. Every last one of them. You don't have to like it, but you need to own it. From an American perspective, the fight between the fascists and the Soviets was a battle of two extreme left-wing ideologies going at it. They were both god-awful. And you can ask any Eastern European country how they felt about either one of those ideologies. Poland, Romania, all of them. They're both shit. Heavy beer day? So, and what tickles me the most is you got all these people out there claiming that Trump, they're like, oh my God, they got fascism everywhere. There's no fascism in the United States. There's no fascism. There may be some authoritarian tendencies, but that's just government in general. Governments, by definition, are authoritarian because they have to be, because they have the monopoly on violence. Now, is that authoritarianism justified? Now, that's an argument for debate. But just because you're authoritarian doesn't make you a fascist or a commie. Just need to make that perfectly clear. U.S. did the same thing in Iraq. What, taking out Saddam? Yeah. You understand, a lot of what Trump is doing is what I've been advocating for decades now. We have the thing called the Monroe Doctrine. This hemisphere, this side of the planet, is ours. It's ours. And if you get too cozy with our adversaries, i.e. China or Russia, well, you're about to get a helping of freedom. And Venezuela has been had it coming to it for a while since Chavez, which, by the way, is a legitimate example of democratic socialism, because all democratic socialists is implementing socialism without the usually prerequisite revolution. They literally elected in Hugo Chavez, and then he started going around nationalizing whole swaths of the economy, which was theft. He stole the natural oil and gas industry, because that was Exxon, Chevron, all of them. He stole all of that. He just went over there one day and said, "All this is ours now. You guys can fuck off." Even though it was U.S. investors and the oil companies' money. You know, we built that. We built that. It wasn't theirs to take. We shared the profits, as we should, because it's their land. But it was our equipment and technology and people that were running that place. Well, that's true. That's true. Which is why we're never going to allow Iran to have nukes. Because we don't want Iran to be another North Korea, where we can't deal with, get them to calm the hell down. Gotta watch my French out here. There's other people. But the Monroe Doctrine dictates that we maintain our power and influence on this hemisphere of the planet. For good reason. And let's be frank. If it's not us, it's going to be the Chinese or the Russians. And if you have to pick a hegemon, wouldn't you rather be with the United States? We're the winning side. We're a hell of a lot more tolerant than those people. That's for damn sure. You got one more lap in me then. Yeah, see, we're magnanimous like that. Here, you want to produce energy, produce energy. You start trying to turn these reactors into bomb-making material by enriching uranium, then we're going to have a problem. It's different. It's different, guys. Ooh, guess I got the barbecue going. It's all smoky. Anywho, no, Trump's done a job. How can you say that when everything he touches he wins. All of his strategies are working as intended. I don't understand what you're talking about. He's a nutter. He's not a nutter. Maduro was warned repeatedly. Look, what do you think? God, I can't stand those kind of trucks. Guy thinks it's hot shit too. That's what cracks me up. Look at me being super loud. Jeffrey Dahmer. No, well, I don't know. I don't know everybody here at this park. No, but Trump is doing an excellent job. Yeah. But look, I know there's a lot going on in New York City. Am I going to respond? I didn't see your comment. Let me scroll up. I do not see your comment. Brinka, I do not see your comment. Yeah. No, here in Texas they do it on purpose. They take the muffler off and they put this giant exhausts on them, and they make them loud on purpose. No, I get it, right? The salt ate your muffler and all that. No, they do it on purpose here. Well, if it did not come through on my side, Brinka, I apologize. I had nothing to do with that. Sometimes YouTube does that. If you're saying something that the YouTube algorithm doesn't like, then it's going to eat it, and I'll never see it. We look alike. You're Ted Kaczynski's secret admirer. Yeah. Well, he was another nutter commie, except he was a more eco-terrorist than anything. Whatever. Yeah, I was not a fan of old Kaczynski. Or any of these tree huggers. Here, look. See this thing right here? Here, let me show you. You see this? This is called a tree. Trees are a renewable resource. You cut this down, it drops a thing called seeds. And these seeds make more of these. And all you have to do is when you cut this one down, you take those seeds, and every tree you cut down, you plant 5 more. So that's how we have more trees now here in the United States than we did back in the day. They're renewable resources. If we turn them into something useful, like a house, or a park bench, or a swing, or a bodega, it doesn't matter. And I don't get misty-eyed cutting my grass and my lawn, because the grass grows back, as do trees. I just don't care. They're plants. I don't know who Randy Weaver is. I have no idea. I'm not all the listening to psychopaths out there. Well, it depends on the trees, right? If you do have endangered species, like I don't advocate for going out and cutting down giant redwoods, right? I get it. Some of those trees have been around since Christ was walking on the planet. I think if you made it that far, you can stick around. But just growing a redwood, as a farm, just like we have farms like corn and wheat and barley and anything else that you can grow on a farm. We have tree farms. Well, I'll tell you why, Sid. Because back in 2020, Maduro was indicted in a New York court. See, they had a legal justification to grab him because he's already been indicted in the United States back in 2020 for crimes that were perpetuated on the American people. So that's why they sent him to New York State, because that's where he was convicted. People have this funny idea about illegality when it comes to world leaders. There's only, at that level, you're literally above the law. The law does not apply. The law is for you and me, and for people slightly higher on the social ladder. When you get to world leaders like that, the law does not apply. At that level, you're just dealing with projection of power. That's it. Let me get by these people here quick. Yeah, well, so do turtles. Who cares? No. Just like I wouldn't eat possums or other varmints out there. But anyway, I already lost my place. No, he was convicted in a New York court. That's why he's in New York. Simple as. Oh, yeah. Projection of power. Yeah. World leaders, whether you like it or not, are above the law. That's why Hillary Clinton is not in jail right now. She's above the law. And that's just the concept that you and I just have to get used to. There are people literally above the law. They are the rule makers, not the rules being applied against them. They make the rules, but they don't apply to them. And that's just life. I don't have to be happy with it, but it's reality. Right? And the sooner that you understand this, the happier you'll be. And it doesn't matter who takes their position. You can depose the old people, put the new people in. The new people become above the law. I mean, look what happened with the Soviets. Soviets got rid of the Tsarist Russia. They got rid of all the lords and ladies and all the other elites. They just replaced them with apparatchiks and politicos. And they became the new elites and oligarchs. And they became above the law. They just did whatever the hell they wanted to do. And the rules always changed. And always to their favor. All right? I agree, Fauci doesn't need to go to jail. But what I'm trying to say is, it's illegal to go get Maduro. And I'm like, according to who? Whose law? Whose law are we talking about? Oh, well, president needs Congress to know before he goes to war. No, he doesn't. He only has to consult Congress after 60 days. He can do whatever the hell he wants within those 60 days. And even after those 60 days, what the hell is Congress going to do about it but rubber stamp it? Because if we're already in the shit, we're in the shit. It doesn't matter. Legality. There is no legality at that level. It is literally just projection of power. We have it, they don't. We want certain outcomes, and if we don't get it, we send the last argument in, which is the Marines, to get our way. That's clear as. I mean, I don't know how to make it any clearer than that. Yes. Yes, he is. He is projecting America's strength. As he is supposed to do. He is supposed to be working in our interests. And he is. Getting rid of a belligerent communist regime that has infected our side of the hemisphere is a good thing. Only good things can happen by getting rid of Maduro. And only good things are going to happen to the Venezuelan people. Their life, their quality of life is going to improve substantially within the next year. It just is. It is not. No, it's not. That is a falsehood. Where are we in decline? Because we're riding through an economic bump right now? Economics go up and down, bro. We haven't lost any territory. Where the hell are we declining at? You realize January 3rd, Iran's about to topple the Ayatollah. And we just got Maduro. New Year just started, guys. We're about to get rid of a severe, destabilizing, pain-in-the-ass force out of the Middle East with the Ayatollahs. And guess what? If the Shah gets re-implemented, as about a little over 30% of the Iranians want, well, The Shah was in exile here in the United States. The current Shah is the son, right? Because the old one died. He died of old age. The current son, the prince in exile, he's been here in the United States. So what do you think is going to happen when he's put back on the throne of Iran? You realize Iran was a friend to Israel when the Shah was in power? You realize that? They didn't give a shit what the Israelis were doing. That whole 7-day war thing, Iran had nothing to do with that. You know, but when the Ayatollah took over back in the late 70s, well, that all changed. Now we got Hezbollah and Hamas and every other fucking Shiite fucking bullshit fucking militia going out there causing problems. Well, guess what? You cut off, you get rid of the theocracy, and you stop funding these terrorist organizations, we're going to have peace in the Middle East, guys. Peace in the Middle East. Can you imagine? Because without Iranian funding, Hezbollah goes away. Hamas goes away. All these fucking assholes causing issues in the Middle East go away. It's going to be wonderful. That's the future that I want. That's peace. Well, you should. I know they shouldn't matter. It's God's litter box. I get it. It shouldn't matter, but it does. And quite frankly, that's what happened with Venezuela. When your problems become our problems because you keep involving us in them, well, don't be shitty when we go in there and solve the problem. Because we don't want your problems. But if you keep bringing us your problems, now we're involved. And we're going to fix it one way or the other. And we are fixing the problems. It took a couple of administrations. It took somebody with some balls and fucking common sense that's not afraid to project American power, as it should have been from the very beginning. When we appear weak on the world stage, it only emboldens our enemies to act up, like Russia and China. They are not on our level, by the way. I know there's a lot of shit going on with China. Oh, China this, China that. China is a paper tiger, just like Russia is. The only thing that we fear out of China are the nukes. Let's just be blunt about it. They got nukes, and that's the only thing that's saving their ass right now. Period. What you see a lot out of China is Potemkin facade bullshit. They got a lot of their own problems right now, and it ain't going away because all the problems stem from the CCP. It just does. So they're not going to be able to solve their problem, and they're not going to be able to take Taiwan. Not like they think they are. Taiwan's one of the most advanced societies on this planet. They got 100 miles of open water between the mainland China and Taiwan. And as we've seen in Ukraine, who is a much smaller opponent than Russia, and they're connected by land, the drones are keeping them in the fight. If you don't think Taiwan, with as sophisticated technology at their fingertips, have not been creating these murder drones to attack anything that's floating in the water or buzzing through the sky, you're out of your mind. They're going to get... The Chinese would be drone swarmed out of oblivion. Yeah, exactly. China ain't shit, man. I hate to break it to you. They ain't shit. Not compared to the United States. They can't take Taiwan. They can't. Mao couldn't take it from Czech, and Xi is not going to be able to take it. Whoever's in charge of Taiwan now, they're just not. Hey, puppers.
Hey, sir, sit down. Sorry about that.
That's fine. That's what I'm saying, man. Taiwan has the most sophisticated technology on the planet with the chips and whatnot. I'm telling you, it's cheap to make drones, and they have the technology to do it. They can just crank it out by the millions. Yeah, China is good for making like coffee makers and shit, but as far as comes like, hey, I'm back. Hey, I'm back. No, it has not. It has not, Nathan. Stop. Yeah. Well, they still do. The thing is that it's the one China policy, because the mainland China is still trying to claim Taiwan as Chinese, and they are, I guess, ethnically Chinese technically, but they're a separate country. So they didn't want to see Taiwan as a separate country. They just want to see them as China. But some of that shit's still coming from Taiwan. They're just not allowed to label it as such. Well, that's true. But we fought them to a standstill in Korea. That wasn't North Korean troops we were fighting in the Korean War. It was Chinese. You know, and they made good cannon fodder. I can't think of too many battles we actually lost. I think Chosen technically we lost, but that was a strategic retreat we were doing with the Marines, and we made them pay an awful price for Chosen. Trying to think of anything else. That's why we fought it to a standstill, because we have a superior modern military, and now it's even more deadly since then, because after the end of the Vietnam War, we decided to go to a volunteer army instead of being a draftee, because volunteers fight harder because they want to be there. So that enabled us to have better trained and more well-equipped troops than we ever had in the history of ever in this country. So yeah, that's why our fighting force is so deadly. And yeah, they got the Chinese marching up and down the parade grounds, but marching up and down the parade ground doesn't win a war. It just makes you look good on camera. Did we? We didn't lose Korea. Funny, Seoul is still there, and we're still in Korea. Did we actually lose Korea? I don't think so. We're still in South Korea. Vietnam, we won every battle. It was the people at home that lost the battle, that lost the war in Vietnam. But we never lost the battle of Vietnam. It is what it is. It was our will to fight, because we had to deal with a bunch of hippie boomers, you know, because of the communist influence. And that's what hippies are. It just is. The flower power and all that bullshit. It was hippie communist types. They were influenced by the Soviets at that time. So those are just facts. Yeah, we did. We actually did extremely well in both of those, actually. And I remember my dad talking about it. It's like the North Vietnamese were at the Viet Cong were actually in Paris at the time, ready to unconditionally surrender to the United States, but our will to keep the fight going deteriorated. Now, do I think we should have been there in the beginning? No, but that was Kennedy's war. Kennedy's war with the domino theory and Kissinger, and then he was blown away, and then LBJ just continued with the plan of going into Southeast Asia. Vietnam and Cambodia was actually the French's problem. They started that bullshit, and we seem to be cleaning up after the French a lot. The whole thing with Libya and outing Gaddafi, that was because of the French. Believe it or not, it didn't have anything to do with the United States, but we had to go and clean the French's mess up. That's just reality. Gaddafi, a large proportion of France's oil and gas was coming from Libya. Gaddafi was threatening to cut France off because he was pissing them off. And in doing so, who the fuck was it? Mitterrand was the prime minister or president at the time. Anyway, he got us involved, and that's where Hillary and all that shit came from. It's because of France. And now they're worse off now than they were under Gaddafi. Congratulations. It's one of the reasons why I don't like the French. They're not our friends. They're a bunch of socialist fuckwads that cause more problems than they're worth. And they can't even control their own country. And they're about to lose France anyway, so it's like, eh. Well, we're responsible for, yeah, because the French got us involved in Vietnam. They got us involved in all that shit. Yeah, you shot down one helicopter. It isn't. You shot down a helicopter. Again, another place we had no business. Why the hell were we in Somalia? I don't give a shit about those people. The people living in Somalia don't care about Somalia. It's not even a real country. Yeah, you know, the Black Hawk down, because it was a Black Hawk helicopter that was shot down in the middle of Mogadishu, and we had to go stage a rescue. That was the. Are we talking the movie or not? They shot down a Black Hawk helicopter. There were survivors, and then we had to instrument a rescue operation. That was the movie. It was about rescuing the troops that were on that Black Hawk helicopter who survived the crash. Duh. Back to Afghanistan. We don't give a shit about Afghanistan either. Trump is tired of the forever wars, guys. He didn't get us in Afghanistan, but he was going to try to get our soldiers out. We were going to keep control of the airport that we built out there because it was strategic to get to China because it was near some of their nuclear stockpiles. But they stole the election in 2020, and Biden's an idiot. And then the rest is history. It was never supposed to go down like that. And Biden is the one that broke the deal with the Taliban leaders. That was never. None of that was supposed to happen. We were supposed to keep hold. I forget the name of the airport. There's the airport that we built out there. Fuck if I can remember what it's called. Doesn't matter. We were going to keep that. We were going to have soldiers at that airport. That was going to be our military facility, and they can have the rest of the territory. The Taliban was cool with that. We made deals. They were keeping timelines. Biden came in. He reneged on the deals, and the rest is history. And then service members got shot up, having to evacuate. We were never going to leave civilians behind. We were going to draw down our military, send the civilians back home that weren't necessary, and everything was going to be hunky-dory, and it was going to be organized, and we were going to keep the part of Afghanistan that we actually gave a shit about, which was the airport. And that's it. They want to go out, marry their sisters and cousins and screw goats and all that. I mean, that's up to them. We don't care about that. We just wanted the airport because of its proximity to China. Bagram. Thank you. Bagram Airport. Yeah, Bagram Airport. There you go. Yeah, because he's dying of ball cancer and good riddance. And he's mashed potato for brains. Which is no shock because he was at the very beginning of the administration. But again, they stole that election. They put him up there as a candidate because he was mashed potato for brains. That's why Obama did not support Biden or back Biden up as a Democratic candidate in 2016. Right? That's why Hillary got the nomination instead of Biden. You would think if Obama was so successful, Biden would have been a shoo-in, but he didn't have Obama support. He backed Hillary. Why? Because, well, because Biden's a drooling idiot. He was a feeble retard, and even before he had Alzheimer's, he was a corrupt asshole. Now he's just a corrupt asshole with a dementia and ball cancer. I mean, he's always been a sorry son of a bitch. Oh, you are MAGA. Oh, you MAGA. You MAGA. Yeah, I'm MAGA. Hell yeah, I'm on the winning side. Exactly, Sid. That's exactly what it was. In the Balkans? No, you can't be talking to me, Skippy. We stayed in Afghanistan for 20 years because Bush Jr. got us in there. And that's the only reason. We already spent all the money there. But you understand, we were not pushed out of Afghanistan. We left. You understand? The Taliban was in hiding. They were in retreat. We conquered Afghanistan. We just got tired of the bullshit because there are a bunch of damn goat rapers out there. They had nothing in common with the American people. Uh, the way they lived, the way they think, their religion, all of it. They were completely antithetical to the American way of life. And in the end, it was a money haul. There was no, we only needed the airport. We didn't give a shit if the women out there went to school and all that bullshit and all these fucking reforms, blah, blah, blah. It's look, values that's literally pearls before swine. They were never going to get it. They were never going to be democratic. It's not. They weren't ready for it. Civilizationally speaking, they're not prepared for any type of republic or democracy. They just it was incompatible with being an Afghani. Period. It is what it is, man. It may be a harsh take, but it is what it is. We're not all the same out here, guys. You have to have a certain level of sophistication to have a responsible republic or a democracy. And democracies are bad by themselves. That's why republics are superior to democracies. Anywho, but even having that mindset and knowing the difference between the two ideologies, they don't have that. They understand donkey pulls cart. That's what they understand. Yeah. Canada was Afghanistan. Yeah, I'm sure they were. I don't know. I don't know much about Albania. I don't even know if they're part of the EU or not. I have no idea. I think they got a lot of Muslims over there. That's why it's probably still a shithole. I'm just being honest. I know Bulgaria might be up there too. I think Romania might be okay. At least in the cities. And thick Latinas. Yes, they have thick Latinas. Well, not so thick, because they have enough food to go around. But they will. When they release the rice and beans again, and they can start eating, they'll put some of that extra on the booty. But they don't have it right now. But they will. They'll get back there. Well, that's not my problem, legal. That's a YouTube thing. I'm just talking to you guys, right? One hand's holding the phone. This is my other hand. I'm not out here deleting comments. I don't know what to say. You're saying something naughty that the algorithm doesn't like. Reward it. Only shithole is your USA biggest shithole in there. Oh, you keep believing that. I can come to this park on a Sunday afternoon without getting shot up or being assaulted by a bunch of damn gypsies. Probably. I got no problem with the Balkans. Yeah. At least the non-Muslim part of it. So I like Serbia, Croatia, I could do without. Don't really give a shit. Yeah. Whatever, you know. I don't like religions that worship a pedophile. And they're in this cousin fund. I just don't like it. You buying your own health care, richest country, but you buying your... Hey, guess what? When you pay taxes, and wherever the hell you're from in Europe, guess what? You're buying your health insurance. Ask how that's going down in Britain right now with the NHS. And they threw their borders wide open. And now you have medical tourists going over there. And the British taxpayers are paying for it. See how they like their NHS right now. Nothing's for free, my friend. You're paying for it. It's just in taxes. We pay a premium, but if we went socialized health care, it would just whatever we're paying in the premium would just become the new tax because it's not free. And the healthcare doesn't just manifest out of nothing. And we actually have pretty good healthcare in reality. I think Tim Walz is going to be arrested. That's what I think. Yeah, I've heard that theory that all the fraud going on right now is being funneled over to the newly independent Somaliland, which again I don't give a shit. But I've heard the theory because, okay, for those of you not in the know, Somaliland was part of Somalia, and they broke off, kind of like South Sudan broke off of Sudan. And the Somali proper is pissed off about it, even though it's not a real state. But anyway, they're saying it's a Jewish conspiracy to pay for Somaliland because they want somewhere to deport the Palestinians to. And that's why we are funding all this money to the newly formed Somaliland to be a landing zone for the Palestinians. I guess we're going to find out one way or the other if all these Palestinians are going to be sort of yeeted over to Somaliland. Funny if true, but then we shouldn't be paying for it. And that's what pisses me off. It's like, fine, you want to send your undesirables somewhere else? Whatever. Don't involve the American taxpayer. We're not your piggy bank. And I think we're being disrespected. And if that were true, I think we need to go take a pound of flesh out of the Israeli ass for that, because it's not our monkey, not our circus. The Palestinians are the Jewish problem, not my problem. Don't give a shit. Take care of your own problems. That's what I say about it. Because one of two things is going to happen with Walls. Either he's grossly incompetent because St. Paul is right next to Minneapolis, and all this is going down under his nose in his own backyard, and he doesn't have sufficient monitoring agencies out there to detect this level of fraud, or he's in on the grift because they contribute to the Democratic politicians. So it's one or the other. It's either gross incompetence or he's in on it. And if he's in on it, well, then there's going to be a paper trail and we'll arrest him. If he's grossly incompetent, there may be other legal recourses for going out there and being a dereliction of duty, because you're not being a good administrator and you're completely clueless and incapable of doing the job. So either way, I don't think he's going to stay in. Kind of like they said that Maduro, and not to mention, a lot of these states and cities are sanctuary states and cities, which is openly seditious. There's no such thing as a sanctuary state or a city. Either you're right with the law or you're not. And a lot of these places have not been right with the law, and we will force them to be right with the law. We have a way of dealing with rebels here in the United States. There's a proven track record of how we deal with the situation. Yeah, we're going to go full Lincoln on these guys, suspend habeas corpus, and then throw them in a dark jail somewhere. Also, mind you, there is actually a law on the books about not being a communist. It is illegal to be a communist politician in the United States. But I don't know if you realize it or not. That's the truth. And what they're trying to do in the round of that law is classify themselves as democratic socialists. Instead of a hammer and sickle, they got a fist with a rose to make, to soften the image up. Like, oh, we're just like the Scandinavians. You're nothing like the Scandinavians, by the way. And they're just out in the open communists, but they call themselves democratic socialists specifically to get around that law. It's the Communist Control Act, by the way. Go look it up. And yeah, it's not changing their brand. It's not going to save them. It is illegal to be a communist politician, and yeah, they could be arrested for that. Absolutely, 100%. And all they have to do is prove it. Prove it in court. It's just a matter of organization. I mean, socialism is the foundation of communism, just like socialism is the foundation for fascism. It's about seizing the means of production, outlawing private property, having a planned economy instead of a free market capitalist economy. They're planned economies. Authoritarian by nature. I mean, it's, yeah. The difference is that communism puts a little class bent to it. They put a little class. You got the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat. Okay, cool story, bro. I'm not going to sit here and try to argue about it. I don't know if deportation is good enough. Oh, and God help Ilhan Omar if she gets if they find out she's complicit in any of this daycare or healthcare bullshit. Her name or her husband's name appears in any of these documents. Oh my God, Trump is going to have a field day. Oh, I know they are. Yeah, like I said, it's they're all authoritarian regimes. It's about abolition of private property. It's about a planned economy, everything to the state and from the state. It's all the same shit, right? It's a fascism put a nationalist bent to it. Nazis took it a little further with the fascism and put a racial bias in onto their twist to fascism, whereas communism put a class bent to socialism. That's all there is. They're all authoritarian shitbag political ideologies, and they're evil. They're flat out evil. Socialism is evil. You cannot implement socialism without being a despot. You just can't. Let me see. I should be back. I don't know why I keep losing the signal here. I'm going to make this final point and then I'll boogie. One of the major differences between what the Soviets did and what Hitler did and the Nazis, National Socialists, is that the Soviets went in there and they killed off all the elites. And it completely fucked up their economy because you killed off all the captains of industry. They didn't know that were actually running the place. And they put these fucking ignorant savages that were tilling fields the week prior or making shoes in the factory. And all of a sudden, they're telling this guy they're in charge of the factory now. And then they have certain quotas to meet. And they don't know their ass from their elbows. The National Socialists saw that and like, that's pretty fucking retarded. What we're going to do is we're going to leave the captains of industry that actually know what the hell they're doing in charge, but we're going to put a Politico on the board, and they're the ones that are actually going to be in charge because that Politico, or apparatchik if you will, is going to be dictating to the board of directors on how many widgets to make, who they can sell it to, who they can compete with, and so on. So the state was running the company. The people left in charge were the experts, but they were only superficially in charge of, say, the workers. But in reality, the state owned the corporations, right? And that's why Germany's economy actually improved and didn't bottom out like the Soviets did. After all, the Soviets needed to borrow American technology, to get where they were at so they can compete with the Nazis. Yeah. Dude, I got nothing to do with it. You gotta outsmart the algorithm. All right. I don't know, can you gargle? Anyway, I don't want to leave this on a bad note. It's been an hour. I got it out of my system. But yeah, Venezuela's better off. The people are happy about it. The commies in New York City, they don't actually live in Venezuela. They hate it. But the people who actually live in Venezuela, they're ecstatic. And I'm happy for those people because they're going to get their lives back, thank God. And they're going to stop being a basket case, and then making their problems go away will make a lot of our problems go away, if you will. We don't need all the mass migration, so we want stable companies in our hemisphere that share a land mass with us. So, wanting Venezuela or any of the other countries in Central and South America to not be basket cases is in our national interest, because we don't need an unwashed tide of humanity walking through the Darien Gap and landing on our doorstep. So, this is a good thing. Venezuela's got a lot going for it. They do have good people there. They have a lot of resources, and that's going to create a lot of jobs again. and it's just going to be better overall. And I'm happy that we're going to be able to help them out with that. And I'm just going to leave it there, guys. Because there's plenty of interviews coming out about, especially on social media, about people with phones going up, or they got their own phones and they're talking about it. You can just go look it up if you really wanted to. Could be legal. No, I'm actually correct on just about everything. We just have a different political bent, which is happening to be in the wrong side of history. I can't help you with that. Yeah, either you're going to get it or you don't. I assume you're just not going to get it. So, but anyway, I got to go. You guys take care. TC out.